Welcome to an enlightened hour of interactive talk. This is Guided Spirit Conversations with host Marla Goldberg. In this program, we spotlight guests from all over the globe who have helped others change their lives and will provide you with the tips, tools, and techniques that you need to help you make a difference in your own life. Now, here is Marla Goldberg.
Everyone, welcome to Guided Spirit Conversations, and I'm Marla Goldberg, your host. Today, first of all, I want to wish you a very happy 2021. The energy is shifting. I don't know if you're feeling the shift already, but it is shifting. And I've been feeling it as the year has progressed. I know we're only 7 days in, but I can feel the difference. So I hope you can too. And I'm introducing you to my guest today, Reverend Judy Weaver. And we're going to have a conversation about the energy and what's going on. But Judy is a Spiritual Trance Channel. She's an international professional certified crystal light healer with more than 25 years of experience. Judy is the founder of Heart for Soul, a non-for-profit organization dedicated to healing and spiritual development. And she is the published author of Guided by Your Light and Truth Beyond, as well as a shamanic practitioner. She is dedicated to being the dedicated grandmother son spirit of the Talking Stick Circle in the Southern Casadaga Spiritualist Camp in Florida. And while working with clients, Reverend Judy attunes her vibration for the God source love energy to synchronize for individualized messages and healings to the mind, body, and spirit and soul. Clients have expressed their experiences are filled with infinite love, profound insight, miraculous physical results, complete acceptance, joy, peace, and a soul rebalance, clear guidance, and powerfully life-changing experiences. Welcome, Judy.
Thank you so much, and happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you. And I know we've got a lot to talk about. So let's talk about when you started trance channeling, doing your spiritual trance channeling. Is it something that you had as a child? Is it something that got developed later in life?
I think I need to go ahead and start my little backup story just to kind of catch up.
Okay.
I've always been a person of faith. I've always had a strong sense of faith. I've always had a real connection with nature, but I had no idea where it was really going to take me. I mean, and I think that that's always with everyone along with our spiritual path. We never have an idea of where it's going to take us. And so I actually, my father had been diagnosed with cancer, and he had been given 3 months to live. He had a very large tumor that had burst through the intestines, and had just gone into his lymph nodes and everywhere. And at that time, I was living up in Connecticut, and he was down in Florida with my parents. Both my parents were down here in Florida. And I sat straight up in bed, and God very clearly told me I needed to go to Florida and do this healing on my father. Well, I looked around the room and I'm like, who said that? Because my background had been Southern Baptist. I'd spent many years in Florida. So this was not something a person did. This was something God and Jesus did. And then I'm like, but God, Dad's an atheist. And I mean, he was a staunch atheist, and he was adamant about it. So this was a real push for me. This was a push for me spiritually, because this was outside of what I knew, but I very clearly heard I needed to do this healing energy on my dad. So I went and I prayed about it, and I'm like, okay, God, if I'm going to do this, you better tell me every single thing I need to be doing. And so I was very clear and adamant about praying and writing down. And I reached out to my family, and they were receptive, which was very different. And again, I think like a lot of light workers, there's a lot of abusive backgrounds, and there's a lot of alcoholism, and there's a lot of garbage that we're dealing with. So that was a whole nother part of the story that came into play. So anyway, I prayed about it, and it was time for me to go ahead down to Florida and to do this healing work. And I knew I needed to have some anointing oil. And at the time I was going to a little congregational church up in, Connecticut. And so I went to church, and I told my pastor right before church, I'm like, I need some anointing oil. He says, for what? And I said, well, I got to go to Florida and do a healing on my father. He says, you got a what? He says, when are you going? I'm like, tomorrow. And he's like, in my office. So, we got hundreds of people coming to to church, he marches me into the office and sits me down. And he's like, "What are you doing, Judy?" And I'm like, "No, I have to do this. God told me to." And so he's like, "Well, you could say this." And I said, "Yeah, I got that." And he says, "Well, you could do that." And I'm like, "Yeah, I got that." After the third time, he stopped and he looked at me and he said, "Who told you that?" And I said, "God did." He said, "It's a good thing we're working for the same guy." And he gave me anointing oil from Jerusalem to take with me.
Wow.
The entire family congregated in Florida. I'm not saying my father didn't continue with medical science, because he did. However, it changed our family. He became a man of faith and he lived another 9 years. So it's not about what we're being asked to do, it's taking the one step at that moment. We don't have to know the outcome. So it was very evident at that time that I had a spiritual path and I knew I needed to follow, but I had no clue where or what or how it was going to come to be. I ended up moving to Florida shortly thereafter. And that's when my shamanic journey really stepped into play. And I kept really feeling the call of the animals and the trees and understanding that it was different. And I didn't know why it was different. I didn't even know I had Native American background at that time. The spirits, when you open yourself and allow yourself to listen, they are right there helping and guiding and opening you to more.
Right.
So then I ended up moving into my shamanic work is what I ended up doing. And then later on, I felt a calling to go to Brazil. And when I went to Brazil and I spent time, and it was at Easter time, and I couldn't speak any Portuguese, and I'm in Aberdeen in Brazil, and it was for a spiritual experience, and I knew it, but I knew I had to go. And the first time that I walked into the Casa Dominico, I walked over the threshold and I was enveloped with such love and presence and peace. And I looked at John of God, is who I went to visit, and I saw in his face, but I heard in my mind, "I've called you, my child, and you came," and just waves and waves of healing. I went back to the casa and I slept for 40 hours. It was during Easter. Again, it was such a prominent time. I went back the next week and they're like, "You need to go for another surgery." And I'm like, "Well, I already had a surgery. I'm not supposed to." And they're like, "No, you're supposed to go." And I'm praying and waiting, and I can feel crystals being inserted into the palms of my hand. I was the first one back when they called the groups to go into the room. And I sat straight up and I felt this crystal tubing go straight through the top of my head and out my arms. And very clearly, again, I heard, "I've had to insert you with this new crystal hardware so that your physical body can deal with the level of healing energy that's going to be coming through. And this will come into fruition in December." So I went back home and I continued all my healing work and working with the different churches and things like that and doing all of my healing energy. And every time before I would do Talking Stick Circle, which I'm the designated grandmother of in Casadega, Florida, I would go ahead and channel, write, prayers of guidance and peace to everybody. And so it's December time and I've got my piece of paper and I get there and I go to read it and I can't read English anymore. And I've seen channeling, but really didn't know what it was, and till it happened to me. And what happens is I allow for the different entities to come in, the God source, the archangels. That's Chief White Eagle, who works with me so prominently in Casadega. And I let them express their words and guidance and information to whomever and whatever that's there. And I have to tell you a couple of, I know I'm kind of going on, but that's all right. I needed to tell you some different stories about how people feel about it, because it's so amazing, the work and the energy that flows through. And as a person, we're curious. As
Mm-hmm.
light workers, as energy beings, we're curious, and we know that we're helping people, but we're also like, "Oh wow, well, what was that all about?" But what I learned through the process is, it's not my business. It's just not my business. I'm a
That's right.
vessel. I'm a vessel to be there and to do whatever they're asking of me to do. And that's really just sending that love energy out to the universe and hopefully healing all kinds of hearts along the way. So I know that was a very long story of an intro, but I just needed to tell you how my journey began, because I never thought I was going to be a channel.
I understand totally. But when you said you heard God's voice, that's how I even got started. I mean, not down my path. I'd gone down my path probably 12 years before. But in 2014, I was sound asleep and this big booming voice like demanded that I start a practice and start helping people. And I was sound asleep like you were. And I thought it was my husband, but it wasn't. And we had our conversation. He goes, well, start a practice if that. And then one thing led to another. And here I am. So I so understand everything you're saying because I had my own experience similar to what
Yeah.
you've gone through.
Yeah, and we never can predict. So, it was like when I went to write my first book, I mean, I professionally had done government work, grant writing. So, yeah, I understand writing, but never had a desire to write my own book. And I'm walking on the beach and I'm going along and God says you got to write a book. And I'm like, write a book? What am I writing a book on? He's like, it's going to be on how to grow your spiritual path, how to develop it, and how God talks to you. I'm like, well, what are the chapters going to be on? He gives me like 23 titles. So I quick come home from the beach, I'm writing them down, and it took me 5 years to write that book. But it was about, I had to hold a class for each of the sessions. I had to learn through that. It took me 2 years to edit the doggone thing.
Wow. That's a long editing process.
Well, I was working full time. That
Mhm.
was not where I was at in my life. And then again, last year in May, I felt a calling to go out to Mount Shasta. And we all heard about Mount Shasta, but I really didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. And I decided I would just go out there and channel just to see, and I would kind of go where I'm guided and directed. But the redwood trees, those are the ones that really called to me, and just my soul needed to connect with the old trees and the ancient wisdom and knowledge that was out there. And I get out there and I start channeling, and I channeled this tree that was right outside the room that I was staying in, and it was called Grandfather Redwing. And I am going to hold up the book because that made me go ahead and write another book. And
Oh,
that this
that's
is great.
beautiful.
This is Grandfather Redwing. That tree. It was so powerful, and it was all about thanking me for coming to the journey and opening myself. And that night I ended up channeling Lemurians. Yeah, I'd heard about them, but I didn't really know about it. And that as I continued, I needed to go to places. That calling when you feel like you have to go to a space. You
Yes.
don't know why you have to go there. Your body and your soul has to physically align with the vibration and the tone so that it elevates you to your next level of development. It's a partnership. It's all
Yes.
about you choosing to step in and commit to, so they will continue to work with you. So anyway, as I was out there and I spent time going to these different places, I went to Crystal Lake and I saw this wonderful vortex, and I knew that that was an entryway into something. I could see the wobble. You know how sometimes you can see that wobble in the air,
Yeah.
so that space. I'd gone to these waterfalls and walked and walked, and as I'm walking, this redwood tree's like, come over here, come over here. And I'm like, there's like a cliff that goes down to this great big ravine. Why do I want to go over there? And I get over there and I look down, and it's a real drop off. And I'm like, I'm not going over there. And so I continued walking down my path and down my path. And then finally I turned around, I'm coming back, and the tree's like, no, come here, come here, come here. And I came back over there and I looked over to the left, and there was this small ledge with this huge face that was in the rock. And I knew that was an entry into the city of Telos. And so I went to sleep that night and channeled right before bed. And very clearly, I was told that I would now be invited in because I found a gateway entry. And you may not remember everything while you're sleeping, but you're going to be going there. So you try to go to sleep like that. It's like, and I'm like, at one point, I think I kind of saw like that archway entry, that, I don't know what that shape is on the pyramid, how those doorways.
Yes.
And the next morning I get up and, I don't remember. I knew I needed to go to the airport. I had to go home. It was time to go home. And I get to the airport and I'm 60 miles away from Mount Shasta, but I'm looking at it through the window and it's plane delay, plane delay, plane delay. And I start writing and I write and write. And it was all about me going down there, meeting the people, meeting the different, how they function in the city. There was a lady, and she went and she told me and showed me how all the people live, and the school and the education and the gardening and the food. And then there was a gentleman and he showed me all about the functionality. It's like, this is how they do the communication around. This is how they do the roadways. This is the water. This is how they build the different buildings. And then there was an elder Jamar. And he was a real elder Lemurian, and he very rarely spoke to people outside of his community. He since told me he's 25,000 years old. I know. Wow. This stuff is mind-blowing, so much more than I knew.
Judy, we're going to stop here because we need to take a break, and we will be right back.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for Reverend Judy Weaver as we come back.
Thank you.
All right, great job. We're all clear.
Thank you.
Marla, I apologize if I'm moving on, you're just going too much.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You've got a lot of information to share and you're sharing it. That's what it's about. In the next segment, we'll go into more of, things that like the channel and things that we could give the listeners.
Right. And that's what I want to do, to be able to show them how they can and what else is there. So
perfect.
Thank you.
It'll segue right in there. So, but it's fascinating. I mean, everybody's journey is so fascinating to me because I love exploring other people's journeys. But when when you say that you heard the booming voice, I heard a booming voice. So, a number of times I've heard that booming voice, sort of like yelling at me. As a matter of fact, I was doing a session with Kimberly and I was on the table and I heard her voice in my ear go, Marla. And I'm like, what? And I jumped up and she goes, what? And we're both in our trances. And still for this day, I hadn't been able to figure out what that was about, but it's just interesting how it all happens.
Yeah. And every single one is so independent.
Yes.
It's your personal journey. And that's the key behind all of it, is just stopping and listening for what it is for you, because it's never going to be the same for anybody else.
Yeah, that's so true. It's just,
yeah,
it's like a fingerprint. It's like anything else that's a one-off, a snowflake.
Yeah.
It's individual, but this just happens to belong to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's just lovely. And I'm trying to think what else I'm reading some of your messages. Okay.
I'm just kind of blending it all in there. So I probably, so.
All right, coming back in 10.
Perfect. Thank you.
VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
You are listening to Guided Spirit Conversations. To reach Marla Goldberg or her guest today, you're invited to call into the program at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. If you'd rather send an email, the address is guidedspiritconversations@gmail.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, I am talking to Spiritual Trance Channel, certified crystal light healer, shamanic practitioner and founder of Heart for Soul not-for-profit organization, Reverend Judi Weaver. Welcome back, Judy.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So in the first segment, we were talking about how you got to be into the channel and the healer that you are today. Let's move into talking about what is a crystal light healer and how does their that modality work with their clients, with your clients.
Well, the way that I work with my clients, I think is pretty general in that Spirit tells me how and what the person needs. You know, when you are on your spiritual development path and journey, you're in a place where, first of all, when you're awakening, and there's so many of us awakening right now, so many new people who are awakening, they're hungry, they're thirsty, they're out there and they're trying to learn everything everywhere. And it's all of that guidance and information coming in, but you have to be able to learn how to speak your own language.
Yes.
It has to make sense for you. You have to be able to identify what resonates with you. There's all kinds of different modalities out there, but you are unique to whatever it's going to be for you. So what my channeling has allowed me to do is to tap into whoever and whatever is of your highest and best that you need right now. And it can be spirit guides, it can be angels, it can be universal masters, it can be loved ones who come through just to provide you with a little bit of closure along with that other guidance and information. I think that the reason why I call myself a crystal light healer was another one of those booming voices that said, "You're now a crystal light healer." And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. But the crystal surgeries that I had when they changed out the crystal chakras, and when I was in Telos and when I was in Brazil, it changed my molecular structure so that I'm able to channel all kinds of different entities. And I would love to be able to channel a message to the audience today.
That would be wonderful.
Would you be good with that?
I'd be great with that. Sure.
Okay. So if people have or have not seen channeling before, my eye color can change, my voice tone can change. And and definitely close your eyes and allow yourself to really be in that space of accepting that presence that's going to come in. So good afternoon. This is Archangel Raphael coming in. Today is a most auspicious day, a day in which great healing energies are needed, not just for the individuals, but for the Americas too. There is great disrest happening within the political scene, happening within the physicality of each of your bodies, struggling and battling with the changes of the virus which is going about, along with the emotional aspects, challenges, each unique to the individuals who are affected. I want each of you to know, to remember, you're not alone. The loving presence of all surrounds you, is there to carry your souls, is there to hold your hearts, to capture your tears, and to elevate every aspect of your mind, body, spirit, and soul. However, each of you, dear children, must choose to welcome, to ask, and to allow your souls to unite with, to combine with, and to bring you to new spaces and opportunities of. I ask that each of you close your eyes and to breathe 3 times, allowing for the cleansing soul breath of life to move into and through your souls of. 1, 2, and 3.
The breath of life is but one way to rebalance and to reboot the mind, body, and soul. But remember, dear ones, the essence of love of all is gifted into and through if you allow it to be. Blessings, dear children, blessings to each of thee.
I love that.
It was beautiful. And when he brought up the unrest and all the dissension, it was like, whoa. I call on Archangel Raphael every day and his angels of healing. And he was coming down to talk about healing,
Yeah.
that we need to heal.
Yeah, we really do. And that's what I really see moving into 2021. I've gotten guidance messages from all kinds of entities. What I really feel is that we had a paradigm time ending at the end of our last full moon in December with this great new energy. And it really started moving in with the conjunction. And, again, that the Aquarian energy that's coming into play, that femininity, that healing, that love. For me, what 2020 was all about was seeing everything. Everybody has to see. You have to take ownership. You have to think for yourself, and you have to be able to make your own choices and decisions. But 2021 is all about having that knowledge of self and taking action on it. There's no more excuses. You don't have to follow the leader. It's about moving into your own knowledge, wisdom, grace, peace, presence, and having the faith to experience it.
Absolutely. And I think that I feel more than think that there's great healing coming to many. Not everybody will accept it, but the ones who are open to it will receive, and they'll feel their life shifting. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, and it's only 7 days in to the new year, but I personally have been feeling a lot of energetic shifts. And it's just the beginning of what's to come for just not only 2021, but 2022 as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I had in the book, as I was channeling information and guidance that came through from all kinds of different entities, they were very specific. And this was September of last year, and it said the world is moving into a state of chaos. It'll never be the same. It was foretold, and I knew at that time it's going to be 3 years. It's going to be 3 years of mass transition of where we're going, but we're going into a new place. Guidance that I've heard is that the months of 3 are going to be very important: March, June, September, and December. In March, I'm receiving information about a golden portal that we're going to be entering into of great healing energies that are going to really help to balance things. The energy to increase the vibrations, the tones that we're all experiencing absolutely affect everybody differently, but it's so important for each of us to find that balance. And that's the yin and the yang, and using the 4 corners, the air and the earth and the fire and the water. So when you're feeling out of balance and just in that craziness, stop and breathe, because that air, allowing that cleansing air to come in, clears your mind and allows you to think better, to receive, and then to be able to wisely act in whatever capacity that you're being guided and led into.
And the other thing too is, if you're going through something, an emotion lasts 90 seconds. So if you breathe for those 90 seconds, you can breathe through whatever emotion is coming through. And of course, we usually don't want to keep the perceived negative emotions. So it's breathe. So I'll agree with you on that. The breathing is so important.
And music, tone vibration is a big deal.
Yes.
Right now, it's so important to, if you're feeling the need to sing and to chant and to just hum, it doesn't matter. Allow that tone and vibration to work with you, elevating you. And then I always, if ever I'm in a place where I'm just kind of feeling on the funky,
Hmm.
I'll go ahead and I'll just really envision that white light. Just close your eyes and let that bursting white light just come in and shower and bathe you and cleanse you and take you to that next level of existence.
It's so important. I love the white light, because it brings a calm over you.
Yeah.
And I mean, over a person, over one. But if you haven't tried it, it's certainly something to try that's easy to just stop what you're doing and take a minute or two and visualize the white light coming down and, just it's like instead of a chocolate fountain, you're in the middle and it's a white light fountain. And if you just visualize something like that, you will feel yourself being bathed, like Reverend Judy said, and really feel the shift in what's going on.
And it can be golden and it can be lavender, it can be all the different colors. Just allow that light essence. And so many different entities are working so diligently with all of us. I mean, how many people are channeling now? Back in the day, nobody heard of channeling. There were no channeling classes or instruction. We stumbled into it. God awoke us to it. This is what
Right.
you're doing. What is that? I don't know. But that's what it is. We all have those different sensitivities and abilities, and they're all being enhanced. And so it's just about how to learn to practice what you're doing and to expand it to the highest and the best that you can for you, because the goal is peace and love. That's the
Yeah.
goal of everything, to live your life in a peaceful, joyful space, adding love out into everybody that you meet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is if you run into a challenging situation, send them love. Don't send them daggers, send them love. And then you've done everything you can do. And it's a clean exchange as well.
Yeah.
So you don't need to worry about the whole karmic retribution of sending something negative to somebody, because when you send something negative to someone, there's a boomerang effect where it hits you 10 times harder. So why would you want to do that to yourself? It's now that you know this, you can start being gentler and being more supportive of yourself by sending love to others,
And
especially
to yourself.
to yourself. But I was going to say, but especially those who are, um, you know, just putting negative stuff out, whatever it might be, just send them love because they really need healing. And yes, we always need healing. So giving love to ourselves, but that's self-care. That's a whole conversation on self-care.
It is self-care, but I think that that's one of the challenges. People are so quick to help others and to give their hearts, but they don't save anything back for themselves, or they don't think they're worthy enough. They don't deserve that. Angels and the God source and spirit guides, they want the very best for you. They're never disappointed in you. There's
No.
not judgment.
No.
It's just more love. They want to help you to grow the very best that you can, but you have to accept it.
Yes.
You have to be willing to accept it.
You have to be open to it.
Yeah.
It's like when I started my practice and people would go, well, I don't believe in that. I said, that's okay. You don't have to believe in it. You just have to be open to what's going to happen. Yeah. And that's what you're saying as well.
Yeah.
Being open.
What you don't have to know. You don't have to know. You have to allow yourself permission to be in that space so that it can, whatever it is, needs to.
Absolutely. And we as humans always need to know. If you notice, as humans, it's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? When
And that's a hard thing when channeling because I want to know, but I don't know. I have very little recollection. So that's why I audio and video record so I can go back and find out. They tell me snippets. I can remember the emotional aspect of it, but I don't remember most of what's spoken
Right.
because it's just traveling on through.
It is. So talking about 2021, let's talk about some healing modalities that people you feel are really powerful for people for 2021.
Everybody really needs to work on that balance and grounding. So important to balance and to find grounding. And so grounding means walking around on the ground bare feet and spending time outside when the sun is rising and the sun is setting. That automatically resets your clock. Spending time outside.
Yes.
Connecting with nature. That's one of the things that's so beautiful about this pandemic part is that you're spending more time outside connecting with nature, and that's what we need to heal ourselves, and everybody needs that's a big deal. Yeah, that's really, really important.
I agree. It's huge. It's absolutely huge that to be outside, to receive, I live on the water. And so every morning my dog guides me to go to to this green space, but it's like this route we go and we go on the boardwalk. And so we can be by the water and we can be there at sunrise and to capture,
Yeah.
the essence, the energies that are
Yeah.
there. And animals are so naturally intuitive to know about things like this.
And they're always trying to talk to you. Pay attention to the messages, pay attention to the animals that you see. They are communicating with you. So pay attention and listen and go look up animal totems when you see things and look twice. Don't just look once.
True. Well, we're going to go on another break. It happened so quickly. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
All right. Thank you.
All right, excellent. All clear. Back in 2.
Thanks, Matt. Oh my God, this segment just zipped right by.
Everything's going to fly. I know.
I know that everything's speeding up. So if veils are lifting, time seems to go faster.
Yeah.
And I hope it's
I got a really big download the other day about the electronics and one of the reasons why we're doing all of the electronics. It was very specific in that the energy workers and their energy needs to align with all of the different computer crystals to unite them for another level of awareness and understanding.
Oh, that's
Is
interesting.
that not mind blowing?
Yeah, it is.
I know. I think Isis came through and told me that one the other day. It was just like, wow. And yeah, so cool.
That's phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal.
I know. And one of the reasons that we're 6 feet apart is so that we're not interfering with everybody else's auras with all of the chaos. Because so many people are in chaos, so they have to stay 6 feet apart. So they're staying in their own zone and trying to keep it away from you.
Is 6 feet really enough? I thought it was 8 feet. I keep hearing 8 feet.
Well, you can
6
call
sounds better.
I was going to say they have whatever they have for their numbers, but yeah, it's just, you just need to have that space. But that's one of the other reasons why we're in this separate space, is so that we're able to manage and control our own auric space and field rather than being as physically impacted by everybody else.
Excuse me, there is a lot of physical impact. Well, you don't even have to be in their energetic field. Just watching what went on yesterday
Yeah. Was ridiculous. Yeah.
but I mean, it was so palpable. You could just feel, I could, I can't say
Absolutely.
that energy. And it was just, you're mesmerized, but it's so hard to watch.
But that's part of it. You can't ignore it anymore. No one can think it's going to be the way it was. We have to step into a new way of being.
Well, I love the fact that it's being said that we're moving into a collective community.
Sorry to jump in, but you're coming back.
things, but a collective mindset.
Yeah.
You are listening to Guided Spirit Conversations. To reach Marla Goldberg or her guest today, you're invited to call into the program at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. If you'd rather send an email, the address is guidedspiritconversations@gmail.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for sticking around while we took our little break. I am sitting here having the most amazing conversation with Reverend Judi Weaver. And Judy is a spiritual trance channel, a certified crystal light healer. She has founded Heart for Souls, Not for Profit. She's a published author of 2 books, Guided by Your Light and Truth Beyond, which is the newest one, as well as being a shamanic practitioner. Welcome back, Judy.
Thank you. Thank you.
So it is charity shout out time. So this is our time to give back and talk about a charity of my guest's choosing. And yours is Flagler Volunteer Services. Let's talk about why Flagler Volunteer Services is important to you and what they do and how they help.
I have been involved with Flagler Volunteer Services for probably almost 20 years now. It's a great organization in Flagler County, Florida, and it's a volunteer agency. So what's so exciting about it is all of these volunteers go out and help all the nonprofit government healthcare facilities for nothing. But the agency itself only has a couple of staff, and they are out there working so diligently to coordinate. They also have a wonderful holiday adventure where they have the giving store. And so this is where children who don't have enough money to buy for themselves or their family members come through this store where everything is collected, and they choose gifts for everybody else, not for themselves. So this is teaching them the gift of giving. And is that not just the most precious gift of all?
Yes.
Everybody gains so much pride. So Flagler Volunteer Services is a wonderful organization that's in Flagler County, Florida. And I will always hold it close in my heart.
Well, thank you. And to find them, it's Flagler, Flagler, volunteer.org. Check them out, see what you can do to help assist, whether it's through donation, time, or money, whatever it might be. It can always be helpful.
Thank
So,
you.
my pleasure. Thank you very much. So, what do you have coming up this year, Judy? What kind of events are you
I am
meeting?
busy. I am very, very busy. So it was funny because, again, I kind of have an eclectic background of doing shamanic work and Lemurian work. And so I've had all kinds of different events. And so what I've got coming up this Saturday, I've got an Ask Your Angels workshop. Starting on Sunday afternoons, I'm going to start my live channeling circle again. That's going to be in Holly Hill, Florida.
Is that a live event or is it an online event?
That's going to be a live event. I do have online activities, and so numbers and patterns is going to be on 1 2 1 2 1. That's going to be a Zoom event, because how many times does everybody say numbers and patterns come into my life all over the place? You know,
Absolutely.
Yes, yes. In February, I've got Light Workers Awakening. That's going to be, I'm doing them in person and also on the website. I always do a 4th Sunday at 2:00, Heart for Soul Sunday. And that's just, channeled guidance and messages. I do my work both virtually or in person for private sessions available. Those are whatever. It can be the healing work, it can be doing the readings, it can be doing the shamanic work. And if we do a Zoom presentation, everybody gets a free copy to take home with them.
Lovely is that.
Yeah.
So to find Reverend Judi Weaver, her website is hearts, HEARTS 4, which is the number 4, souls.com. heartsforsouls.com. And everything that Judy's talking about is going to be on that website. so that you can sign up with whatever resonates for you, because you have to follow the guidance. And you sound like you have a lot of wonderful things coming up, Judy. A lot of wonderful events and workshops.
I do. And there's one more thing that I want to go ahead and talk about. And again, that is the book, The Truth Beyond. This is all channeled guidance and information from archangels, from different planetary systems. One of the, we went and we would ask questions. What's for the best in my life, and how can I grow my spirituality, and how can I get to know my spirit guide better? And one of the different channels that came through was from a spirit guide trainer. Well, that makes sense that they would have one, but wow, what an awesome thought that they have spirit guide trainers.
Yeah.
Because your spirit guide who chose you is on their own development path. And that's the same with your own angel that's with you. So you can never be completely off your path. You can only be on everyone's path and journey. And is that not just such an exciting thought?
That's really exciting. And again, it makes it a collective,
yes,
rather than a secular.
Absolutely. And one of the things I'm going to be doing with this book is I'm pulling together book clubs so that people can go ahead and gather together with your tribes. And that's what it's about, gathering your like soul-minded people to help all of you grow together. And so there'll be groups of the book club where then you get a chance to read through. There's 9 different sections of different questions that were asked. They open in prayer and close in prayer, and you hear from all kinds of entities. And then I'm going to go ahead and join you on a couple of the different book club Zoom calls that helps you to be able to know and to understand a little bit better about the channeling.
Where do we find this book?
This is located, it was published through Balboa, but you can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes and Noble. It's called Truth Beyond. And, but if you're interested in the book club purchase, then that's something I'm going to pull together and have available on the website so that people will be able to buy it as a group package.
Excuse me. All of a sudden I've had this coughing fit, so I apologize. That's great. So Amazon, Barnes and Noble,
Balboa Press.
Balboa Press, and can people reach out to you directly?
Correct. They could go ahead and they can go on to the website, heartforsouls.com, or you could actually email me, which is rev.judi.weaver@gmail.com. So real easy.
And
It's
maybe
me.
Judy will be nice enough to sign the copy for you.
I
if you
will
order it from
sign-
her directly.
I will. I'm going to go ahead and sign them all. It's fun. I've got a group that's doing it now, and they can just feel the different energies that are coming through, and it brings you to a different level of understanding. And it's all about self-awareness with that understanding. Yeah.
Makes a big difference. It sounds like a highly powerful book with great information.
It really is. Everybody that reads it can feel the energies, and that's what it's about. It wasn't my project.
You're just the vessel. You're just the conduit.
Exactly. It had to be born. Here, go through the process. I'm happy to say this one took a year. So it was a much faster process.
Much faster. Yeah, 5 years is a long time. I always worry that if I was going to do that with a book, that I would lose interest and it would fall away.
Well, when it's supposed to come to be, it's going to come to be.
It's a birthing process.
It really is. It really is. It's, and what's I also have on my website are all of the different channeled videos of the session so that people can see it. And it's really cool because in the different channelings now, sometimes you can see like the light change behind me and it's, you just see things. And that's just cool. When I had Isis come through the other day and I channeled her, the audio went into a blur for the first 1 minute and 11 seconds. It had a buzz.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, that was cool.
Buzzing with Isis. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, that sounded interesting. I need to go see that because I want to hear that 1 minute and 11 second buzz.
But she had profound things to say, and it's about this new change in energy that we're moving into, and allowing all of us to move into, and really allowing all the light workers to go electronic. It's so important for us to allow our energies to blend with the crystals and all of the different computers, and to help synchronize them, so that again, that's a whole nother level of elevation and unity and community.
Which is what we're working at. Reverend Judy Weaver, thank you so much for being on the show. I am so grateful for your time, your information, and what you're sharing with our listeners, because I love when we can share very tangible practices that people can incorporate into their days, into their lives, to help them with open or shift, whatever it is that's going on with them. So to reach I keep calling you doctor, and I apologize. It must be a past life thing. Reverend Judy Weaver. It's hearts4, and that's the number 4 souls.com. And then your email, if you want to email Reverend Judy, it's rev.judi.weaver, Weaver @gmail.com. Reach out to Reverend Judy, and I almost did it again. And
Do I need to go back to school?
I think a doctorate's in order for you. I don't know, either that or you were a doctor in a past life, but thank you so much for sharing what you've shared with us today in that beautiful channel from Archangel Raphael. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I want to thank everyone at Voice America for getting this show up and on the air and their patience with me. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. To Bridget, my assistant, my right arm, my left arm, thank you so much, because she's my tech wizard. So she helps so much. And I want to thank you, the listening audience, for taking the time out of your day, out of your life, to listen to this podcast and to be a part of everything that we're sharing. And the intention is that you will receive something that will help you incorporate, help you in your life, open, shift, whatever it might be. So I thank you for taking the time to participate with this podcast. I also want to let you know on January 17th, I'm going to be leading a guided visualization that will help you with your intention setting for the rest of the year. And you can check out my website at MarlaGoldberrg with 2Rs.com for more information on that. And as I'm saying, until this COVID thing is really corralled, please, please, please be socially considerate of others. Wear your masks. You don't know what anybody else is dealing with. It protects you and it protects others. Keep your distance, keep your hands as sanitized as possible, so that we could start living our new normal as we move forward. So until the next time, as always, I send you love, I send you blessings, and I send you gratitude. Stay well and know that you are truly loved. Take care.